Hi, I'm Simon Schwall, the CEO and founder of OKO Insurance, and I'm listening InsurTech Business Series podcast to keep informed about the insurance news in the continent, and I invite you to do the same.
Welcome to the InsurTech Business Series podcast. I am Fulumi.
And I am Damola. And together, we host the most exciting podcast on insurance and InsurTech related topics in Africa. Stay tuned. So, hi and welcome to another interesting episode of InsurTech Business Series, and today we have a very interesting person in the house, and we're super excited about this conversation because we're looking at the agribusiness space, and he is playing in that area, providing insurance, very specific insurance for small scale farmers, and we are super excited about what has happened with their company recently, and then looking at it broadly about how insurance can play a better role even in the agri space on the African continent. So without further ado, welcome Simon.
Hi, thank you for having me, Damola and Fumuli.
Awesome. Pleasure to have you. So we always like to start off with asking how our guest is and just hearing how they've been. So Simon, how have you been in the recent time? I know that there was a raise recently, but how are you?
I'm very good. It's exciting to have passed this stage of raising funds. It's not all celebrations and holidays. It's a lot of work, so I'm still tired, but it's exciting. Yes.
Awesome. So, I mean, there's no conversation that you have right now that don't mention about the COVID-19 and then the new reality that has brought to the world generally, and even looking at the African space where you play. So, for you personally, how have you been able to navigate this new reality? And I mean, I'm sure that it would have affected your business, but then you personally, how have you been able to manage these new realities?
Yeah, so personally, I feel like that I've been pretty lucky because I am based most of my time in Israel, and we've been receiving a lot of vaccines very, very early on. So I've been vaccinated already for 2 months. Things are starting again. So this has been difficult in the past year, but now we're starting to see the end of the troubles. So I'm optimistic. For the company, it's been a bit more complicated because I've been unable to travel as much as I wanted to see the operations in Mali and Uganda, to meet with new partners. So that's been more challenging. But that being said, I think we've been less affected than other companies because we are digital and because we allow our customers can register remotely, can pay with mobile money. So we haven't had to close our offices or operations.
Yes, I know that you're the owner of OKO, but a lot of people would like to meet Simon. Who is Simon even outside this InsurTech company that you currently run?
Okay, so I'm French and from Luxembourg, so I got two citizenships. I've got a background in business management, so I've had an international career and life so far. I was born in Luxembourg, lived in France, studied in Singapore, started my career in London, then moved to Dubai, and things started to get even more exciting when I joined another startup called Bima in 2014. And moved to Papua New Guinea. So that's when serious things started happening, when I started to work in the InsurTech space as a startup entrepreneur and discovering the world of mobile finance and finance in emerging markets. And then moved to Israel, worked in Egypt, worked in Senegal. I think one thing that characterized me is that I've been traveling a lot, moving a lot. Other than this, I'm the lucky father of a 6-month-old baby, and I enjoy cooking and surfing and playing the piano. So in a few words, that's me.
Wow, that's really interesting. I mean, I'm sure that the past few months, few years has been quite interesting for you, being that you have always done a lot of traveling before now. All right, yeah. So I see that you mentioned that you had some experience working with Bima, and so yes, we're going to go into OKO and what you're doing there. But then, how did your experience with Bima, for example, maybe shape what you are doing, with OKO at the moment?
So I think in two main ways. First, personally, it was the first time that I had a real entrepreneurship experience, even though I was not a founder or at the C-level position. I was still the local founder and the only responsible, like the person responsible for all the operations in the market in Papua New Guinea. So this gave me a big challenge, but overcoming this challenge and being able to successfully launch the company, make it grow, it gave me the self-confidence and the trust that I could do this again by myself next time. And then, from a business point of view, the idea of OKO is to build on what we've been developing at Bima in terms of distributing insurance very effectively using mobile network operators and mobile technologies to the unbanked. So we're leveraging on this at OKO, adding more complexity because we're talking about crop insurance and we need to monitor the fields. We're talking to a target market that is less financially educated and has more challenges. So it has built the foundation of OKO. So it shaped OKO quite a big influence.
In fact, it's so impressive that because one of the questions I was going to ask you was going to be as a result of I've seen that OKO actually has some of the similar models of Bima. I literally used to track Bima's model, and it's one of those impressive distribution models. But before we dive into all of this, one thing I'd like to ask is, what is OKO? What does it mean? Where did the inspiration for that name come from? A lot of us have been questioning that because OKO for us in Nigeria, especially for people that are from the Yoruba descent, understand that as farm. So this has been one of the questions that's been boiling on my mind, that what does OKO mean to you, and where did that name come from? And of course, how exactly does it differ from what Bima has done over the years?
Okay, so first of all, OKO, it comes from Nigeria originally. It's the name of an Orisha, so a kind of deity protective of agriculture and fertility and good harvests. It's also known in Latin America because the Orishas have traveled with the people. And even though I talk to Nigerian people and most of them don't know about it, so it's it's only for specific groups and cultures. But I found that this was a good name for what we try to do. It originates from Africa, but it's been traveling. It's protective of agriculture, and it's also a short name that is easy to pronounce in any language, and that doesn't take too much character space on the phone. So these are all very important criteria. Now, for your other question on how it differs from Bima, so there are a few different things. First, we only look at crop insurance, while Bima is doing life and health insurance, and we use mobile money payment, where Bima, at least when I was still with them, where we're using mostly airtime deduction, which changes quite a lot of things in your relationship with the mobile operator and the revenue model. So yeah, these are, I think, the main differences, but the distribution model is similar otherwise. Yes.
All right. That's quite interesting. And so, how exactly does OKO go about this crop insurance? Help us understand. I mean, how you are serving the market.
Yeah. So I'll explain from the point of view of a farmer. I think that's going to be the most interesting. So as a farmer, you can hear about OKO on the radio, or you receive an SMS, but you can also find it in your mobile money menu, and you can find more information there and ask to register. So when you ask to register, basically you request a call back, and one of our call center agents will call you back, ask you a few things. They will ask you your location, your crop, and the acreage, the land that you're using. Based on these three pieces of information, we will send you a quotation for insurance that will cover you against weather risks. So usually it's mostly droughts and floods. You can choose then to pay this quote, pay for this insurance via mobile money, either in one installment or in multiple installments. And as soon as you started paying, you activated your policy, and then we start our work. We start looking at the weather and the location of your field, and if we see that you have been suffering from a lack of rain or excessive rain, then we automatically send you a compensation or financial indemnity to compensate for the loss harvest. So that's how it works. We also have field agents that meet farmers on site, so it's not necessarily done over the phone. It can be done face to face.
So that's kind of like a parametric insurance model, right?
That's correct. It's called index or parametric insurance, and that means that farmers don't need to wait for someone to inspect the fields to validate the claim. Everything is based on data, and more specifically on an index. So we look at cumulated rainfall or intensity of rainfall to measure if there was a drought or a flood. So everything is automated based on satellite data.
Okay, so what would you say as being your challenges with respect to applying parametric insurance? Because I know that there are some of the fallouts from this, especially as it relates to. I mean, some people have attested to the fact that sometimes it can be inaccurate. Sometimes, how exactly have you been able to deal with some of the challenges that relates to using this particular model?
So yes, good question indeed. So crop insurance solves a lot of challenges. The challenge of visiting the farms, of also potential fraud like bribes or simulating a calamity, but it comes with its own challenges. So indeed, the data that we get is not always correct, even though we try to choose the best data possible, and it's not precise to the level of the farm, but only to the level of the village, more or less. Like we have a 4 square kilometer granularity. So it means that a farm can be affected differently to another in the same location based on the altitude, for example, or other elements. So the way which we overcome this is by education mostly. We educate farmers about how it works so that we don't build wrong expectations. Farmers know that we look at the village level, and all the farmers in the same village will be compensated the same way, and that helps to overcome this challenge. We also try to use more and more data to improve the precision of our analysis. So that's the product is getting better and better over time.
Okay, yeah, that's quite interesting, and it's just going to be interesting to hear. I mean, I know that you currently are in Mali and Uganda, right? What is the regulatory environment? I mean, in that space, I mean, innovation is usually always ahead of regulation, right? And I mean, your business is using a lot of technology and thinking about the whole micro insurance differently. So what's the role that the regulator has played in some of those markets that you are currently playing?
Do you know that the IBS Women in Insurance webinar is coming up this month of May? The webinar will focus on the challenges, opportunities, and realities faced by women in the insurance industry. Notable speakers like Rashidat Adebisi, Majori Igwenya, Adolu Adewumi, and many more will be there. More details on our social media pages. Don't miss it.
Okay, so regulation is really important in insurance. So we're trying to work as closely as possible with the regulator. We know also of some projects that have failed because they didn't have the right authorizations. So yeah, that's a really strong advice I would give to people who want to go into that space, is to work closely with the regulators. And two things. First, the regulators are really pleased to see this kind of initiative because they've been pushing insurers to offer solutions for the most vulnerable for a long time. And they are happy to see solutions like this being developed. But then they also have a role of monitoring what's happening and making sure that everyone is licensed correctly. So we are registered as a local insurance agent in Mali. We work hand in hand with a local insurance company that has the right license to distribute crop insurance. We involved the regulator in the discussions when we designed the products to ensure that they would have no objections to what we do. But overall the regulation is quite supportive because they have goals in terms of financial inclusion. There's only one country in Africa that I know of that is not accepting index insurance at the moment, and that's South Africa. Other countries are, as far as I know, are authorizing this kind of product and encouraging them even because of the impact it can have on the vulnerable rural population.
Okay, I like the fact that you actually just, because I was going to ask about, how you intend to expand, your business across Africa. I was looking at the fact that, there's the recently signed Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. And would you just play within the space of Mali and Uganda, or are you looking to expand, like leverage on this particular opportunity and expand, the business model across the other parts of Africa? I'm in Nigeria, so I'm probably asking about Nigeria as well.
So we have the ambition to be a Pan-African company and possibly the biggest player in Africa in terms of crop insurance. So we have very high ambitions. So Mali and Uganda is the starting point, but we want to expand. The idea of launching in Mali first was that we see most of the innovation coming from three places in Africa: Kenya, Nigeria, and Egypt to some extent, and maybe South Africa, but that's different kind of innovations. And Francophone Africa is usually lagging behind. It's 10 years behind or 5 years behind in terms of innovations. So knowing that I'm a native French speaker, and I also had good contacts at Orange, I thought I should use this opportunity to bring innovation quicker to West Africa and to Francophone Africa, and to benefit from what has been a problem so far, the lack of innovation, like being the first there and avoiding frontal competition. So the idea is to develop in West Africa. We are looking especially at Ivory Coast as the next market, potentially also Ghana. Uganda was an opportunity because we've been selected by AB InBev and Nile Brewery, more specifically, to bring insurance to their barley farmers. So that's why we went to Uganda. But now it's good because we have multiple partners in terms of insurance and mobile operators. So that helps us also to cover more countries in Africa. in the future.
Yeah, that's very good, because I mean, I also have been looking at innovation and all of these activities recently, and even looking at the industry as a whole. The francophone part have been lacking behind, like you said, and I've had some conversations with people from that part of the African continent, and there are all of these sentiments as regards not seeing those innovative products that are evident in maybe Nigeria or Kenya or South Africa, Egypt. So that's quite interesting that you are looking to go into the Ivory Coast. And I know that recently you had some investment, and I mean, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
That, for me, I mean, looking at it from the outside in, it sort of like gives validation to some of the things that you've been doing for the past few years, right? And also for the InsurTech community on the African continent, it also shows that there is promise in this space. And we have seen not just yourself, we've seen other InsurTech companies as well get funding, Lami in Kenya, Curacell in Nigeria as well. And so what I want to ask now is, I mean, you are still on that journey, but then you have come some way. So what would be your advice for InsurTechs or people who want to enter into the space? I know that you talked about what they should do in terms of regulation, but looking at some of the experiences that you've had and all of these engagements, so what would be your advice to InsurTechs coming into the space or looking to play a role?
Yeah, so it's not just random that investments are made in this space and that you see more and more startups. I think it's because we all agree that there's a big opportunity there. In a more mature market, I would say, like in Western Europe, in the US, everyone has already insurance and everyone has access to credit. Everyone has credit cards, etc. But in Africa, a large part of the population has not had access to these services yet. So banks don't really have the hegemony, like the market share that they have in bank and insurance and more that they have now in more established markets. So there is still a place to be taken, and we see mobile operators going into that space, but also more and more startups, because there are now tools to distribute these insurance products, thanks to smartphone penetration, thanks to also just mobile phone technology. And there's a real need by people to access financial services, to grow their business, to secure their financial prospects. So I think that's why it's all coming together now. There is a need by the population. There is a technology that allows new services to be developed, and there is a lack of. There was, at least for a long time, a lack of services available. So there is this opportunity, and startups are well positioned to go after it because they are more flexible and they don't have all the fixed costs that a big company can have. Yeah. That being said, it's also very important to work hand in hand with these large financial companies when you're in InsurTech or in FinTech, because as a startup you don't have the funding and the financial guarantees to reassure the clients, the customers, and the regulators.
This has obviously been one of the interesting conversations we've had after our Agribusiness webinar, and I know again that with this, a lot of people are beginning to see the opportunities that lies within the agribusiness space. But before we let you go, we would like to know what advice you would give to people in this space that are looking to delve into agribusiness. I mean, there must have been a reason why you didn't want to do life, you didn't want to do else. You chose agric of all of the other types of insurance, and so what were your thoughts, your challenges, and for people that are coming up, how exactly can they upscale their products or their businesses to something as viable as OKO?
So The way I see it, there are waves of services. So first came mobile money, and people used it to transfer money locally in the country and then internationally. Then came payment to third parties, and then came insurance. And the first insurance products were life and health. And at the time when I launched OKO, I thought, okay, what's going to be the next thing, the next big thing? And as an entrepreneur, I think that's what you always need to think of. You need to live kind of in your predictions of the future. So you need to look at the market metrics, but also your own convictions, and see what you think is going to be the next big thing. From my opinion, I could see that the majority of the population in sub-Saharan Africa lives from agriculture, that other financial services have been successful already, like payments and to some extent credit, microcredit, and already some kind of insurance. So I thought, okay, that's what's going to come next is crop insurance. It's such a big need for it, such a large population that requires it, and they are now equipped with phones. So that's where I need to bet.
Thank you very, very much for that. It's quite interesting as well that you are quite focused on weather risk, and I'm just curious to hear your thoughts. I don't know if maybe this is part of future plans, but then are there plans to maybe provide other solutions, like maybe to cover political risk or terrorism and things like that, which also affect farmers, especially these small scale farmers who are on the ground and who are feeling the brunt?
So we started with weather insurance because simply it's the easiest thing to monitor remotely. It's difficult to observe a localized disease, for example, but weather is already monitored, has been monitored for many years, so we have also the data. So that's easier. But we know that there is need. We hear our customers saying that they would like to be covered against pests and disease. And we're not the only one in this space, and everyone is trying to find solutions for this. So we are also investing in research and development to develop such a product. It's not ready yet. We need to work more on this, but yeah, that's the idea: is to offer a full protection to the farmers, and we might also diversify into price insurance. If the price of a specific commodity falls, we could try to protect farmers against this. And we've also been thinking in the context of COVID about a work interruption insurance. So if marketplaces, for example, cannot operate, if stores have to be closed, if transportation cannot continue, then farmers are left with their products and no way to sell them. So that's also a risk that we could try to cover, but we still have to do a bit of thinking about how this will work.
Yeah, that's quite interesting, and I mean, definitely the possibilities are endless, and just continue to iterate, and that's the beauty about being an insurtech. Being able to iterate and think about some of these solutions and find ways to provide them profitably. Definitely. So yeah, that's really interesting. Looking at the agri space, you talked about why you entered into the space initially, focusing on crop insurance, right? But in the light of the African Free Trade Agreement, I'm going back to that now. What kind of opportunity is there for the insurance industry as a whole, not just yourself, because definitely the market is there, but we need a lot of hands on ground to actually provide these solutions to a lot more people who actually need them. So, do you have numbers or things that you have seen or that tells about the opportunity that is there for the industry to just tap into?
So, to be honest, I haven't seen really the opportunity of the free trade agreement just yet. But what I've been pleased with is to see that there is already a lot of cooperation between the countries to help spread innovation. For example, the whole West Africa, or many countries in West Africa are united not only by currency but also by regulation. For example, they have the same central banks, they have the BCAO, they have the same insurance regulator, the CIMA. So it makes things easier to replicate in more markets. It's not perfect yet because even though we have a license in one market, it doesn't allow us to go into other markets that easily. We need to still incorporate locally a new entity and obtain a license. So if that becomes easier with the free trade agreement, that would be definitely a benefit, because there's a lot of time and energy lost in the process of being registered in every market, having a local entity, then consolidating the accounts. So that's a struggle, and that's also a problem for the smaller countries, because when you have the same hurdles to go to pass whatever the market size, then you will prioritize the large markets, and some smaller markets will always be left behind. So definitely the more cooperation between markets is a good news. But I cannot tell you specifically for the African Free Trade Agreement what benefit we see immediately. Also I forgot to mention the visa requirement is easier in some markets. For example, in East Africa, between the different East African Cooperation member countries, people can work in all the countries without need of a visa. Same thing in West Africa with the Markets Alliance. Also, in terms of property rights, like the IP rights, are also organized regionally, so that helps. So I didn't know about all these different alliances or corporations, but this is definitely helping, and the African Free Trade Agreement can only improve this even further. So that's anyway good news.
Thank you very much, Simon. I mean, again, like I mentioned earlier, this has been a very interactive session, and I like the fact that we've had this conversation, especially at a time like this. And also, like Damola said, congratulations on your investment. I'm sure that would obviously increase the buffer to penetrate other market space, like you also mentioned in the course of this interview. So we're grateful that you agreed to come on this podcast. But before you go, for people that are looking to, contact you or access you in any way, would there be a way they can reach you, especially for our listeners?
Sure. So we have good presence on social networks. You can follow us on Facebook if you want to see how we serve our farmers, see some testimonials and stuff like this. We have a YouTube channel where you can see also a lot of content, testimonials, but also explanations and interviews. And if you want to speak to us personally, then I would say contact us on LinkedIn. You can also send a message to info@oko.finance, and we'll try to get back to you.
Awesome. That's awesome. So thank you very much again for coming on. It's been a pleasure speaking, and I mean, good luck with the future, and we definitely would love to continue to be a part of, this success, get to hear about what you're doing, and maybe be a part of some of the expansion that you are hoping to do in the West African space.
Well, I will keep you updated, and I will be happy to tell you more when we have new country launches or new product launches.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Hi, and I hope you did enjoy that conversation. Quite interesting one. Do ensure that you continue to listen to our podcast and share as well with your colleagues and friends future episodes and even previous ones on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, on every platform that you get your podcasts.
Right, and also don't forget to join the conversation on all of our social media platforms. We might have comments, reviews, as well as questions. Please do share on our LinkedIn page, on our Twitter page, as well as remember to follow us.